Hey guys, it's Vampire Mike from SegaCDUniverse.com. This is a new small series I figured I'd start, see how it's received, and then probably continue it because it would interest me if I was watching it. So what I want to call this is What If. What it reminds me of is I remember as a kid I used to collect comic books. I think I got rid of primarily all of them at this point, but I used to always see these comics that were like, what if Wolverine fought the Hulk? And like they would have this strange story of them fighting or whatever, you know, the story was they made up at that point. It was usually things that would never happen or just so outlandish that they made no sense, but it was never tied into the main storyline, so it wasn't, what do they call it, canon to anything? It was just like a you know, fluff kind of filled side story that didn't tie into the universe. So I was thinking to myself, what if I had a Sega Saturn instead of a PlayStation 1? And what if, here's the other big what if I had access, the way I do now, to all these imports? When we were kids back in, you know, the late 80s, early 90s, you know, there was no internet. So when Saturn came around, I think it was starting to like pick up, but I didn't have a computer for many years after that. I think the Saturn came out when I was about maybe 13 or so. So I didn't have a computer till I think 14 or 15, around there, maybe 14. So anyhow, you know, back then maybe they didn't have the action replays. I doubt they did, that you can put into the card slot of your Saturn and play imports. But had I had a Saturn back when Sony and Saturn were kind of going at it during that era, along with the N64, and these games that I have in front of me, oh, here's Stella. Come here. Come here. Come here. These games that I have in front of me, if I had these import-wise, or if they were maybe released in America or whatever, come on. Let me just, let me go off the story for one moment. About, I don't know, an hour ago, I started cleaning the house, vacuuming and stuff. Stella got really scared, she always does, and she left, and she went under the bed. So then I go to pick up these games from the other room, and I hear this screaming at the top of her lungs. I'm thinking, oh my God, she's stuck in the other room, or God forbid she's hurt or something. I come back and she's pretty much sitting, not in front of the camera, but sitting at the camera just screaming like, I know you're filming a video, motherfucker, get back in here. So I guess she just really, really wanted to be on camera, right, Stella? Right. So anyhow, if I had these games, whether import-wise or maybe they had been released in America when I was a kid, how would I have felt compared to my PlayStation? Now, I loved my PlayStation as a kid. I thought it was cool how they re-released, you know, Chrono Trigger, they re-released Final Fantasy 3/6. Suikoden is one of my favorite games. Suikoden 2 is one of my favorite games. I loved Psychic Detective. It's still one of my favorite FMV games, and that was on the PS1 as well as the 3DO, but I found it initially on the PS1. Blazing Dragons, Discworld, Loaded, the Mortal Kombat trilogy game. I mean, the list goes on. There's just tons and tons of great games on the PS1. But had I had a Saturn, she really wants in on this camera, boy. Let's lower it a little bit. Maybe we could get her in the shot so she feels a little better about herself. Had I really had a Saturn at this point, with all these games, I'm going to show you a couple of them, it may have won out for me, I think, as a kid, because now when I go back and play them, having not had a Saturn then, they really are cool and they really hold up. I bought a Saturn a few years ago, and I played it, well, maybe more than a few years ago now. Now it's more like 7 or 8 years ago. And I played it a little bit, but I didn't have many high-quality games. And then I just sat on it for a while, and then I kind of stopped gaming for a little while, and I ended up selling it. So I bought 2 of them, actually, recently. That's a previous video you may have seen where I take the Saturns apart and open them and clean them a bit. So one of the games that I know I would have loved as a kid, let me raise this again because the lighting is bad. One of the games I would have loved as a kid was X-Men vs. Street Fighter. I mean, this game, Stella's putting her head on it like a bookshelf. This game is amazing. I mean, with the RAM card, I'm pretty sure this is the one that uses the RAM card. It's a phenomenal game, and being a big Street Fighter fan and being a Street Fighter fan as a kid when it first came out, Street Fighter 2, this would have totally been up my alley. So this, X-Men Children of the Atom, I mean, just excellent fighters that till this day hold up. If you ask me what 2 systems, in my opinion, are the best for fighting games, hello pretty girl, hands down the Dreamcast and the Saturn. I mean, just amazing fighting games, amazing 2D, powerhouses. I personally prefer 2D, but Cyberdoll, which is something I just did a little review on recently, a little mini review, because I'm not technically reviewing anything, I'm just kind of talking shit as I play it. Great cyberpunk RPG, but again, all in Japanese. Walk-in Rotor, excellent strategy RPG, sort of in the vein of Shining Force, but cyberpunk or steampunkish. Another one of my favorites, Fire Pro Wrestling D, Blazing Tornado, well, not D, Fire Pro Wrestling Blazing Tornado, which I hope to film shortly and put on the channel. Fire Pro D is one of my favorite games on the Dreamcast, but this is also pretty good. You know, games like Darkseid, excellent dark point click adventure. They had Phantasmagoria 2, I believe, on there, but I played that on the PC. Lunar Magical School, which was a port of the Game Gear and upgraded version. And, you know, Fighters Megamix. I mean, if I had this stuff as a kid, after being a Sega CD fan, well, I got the Sega CD after the Saturn was, I think, still around, but, you know, I would have been in heaven. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I feel like, I think, had I had, again, been able to obtain these imports, maybe they would have been released in America. Big what ifs here. It's all kind of fantasy based, it's all pipe dreams, but I think I would have probably preferred the Saturn. You know, there's an amazing amount of RPGs that are in Japan that, say, the American audiences will never see unless they use a walkthrough, and it kind of takes away from the game. Even if it's fun, yeah, the story doesn't really grasp you as much because it's obviously in Japanese. So that's just my 2 cents. This is my little what if first video. If you like it, let me know. Give a thumbs up. Tell me. And if you don't, then maybe I won't do it anymore. But I'm sure there's lots of magical bullshit you can create in your head that would make a great, hey Belle, would make a great video. So that's what I'm going to do from now on if this goes over. Thanks guys for watching. It's Vampire Mike from SegaCDUniverse.com. Stella, say goodbye. Come on. Say goodbye. No? Alright. She had enough. Camera shy.